All right. Welcome, everyone. Kat's going to get us started.
Thank you, Christy, and thank you so much, everyone, for your engagement and your participation and your presence today, and for joining us for our training and benefits showcase. But before we transition into that, we've been sitting and kind of looking at our screens for a while. So I just want to take a little brief moment, invite you to maybe look away from your screen, or if it feels right for you, even stand up and step away from it for just a second. I'm going to offer just a few movement options, and I'll invite you to choose or join in on anything that just feels good for your body right now and at this moment. Maybe that's rolling your shoulders a few times. Gently stretching your arms overhead or to the side. Maybe just moving your neck or your wrists. Or maybe just shaking it all out and just letting our body just have a little bit of a reset. A sigh if that feels good for you. And when you're ready, I'll invite you to come back to your screen, and to this space, and just find a place of ease and comfort. And hopefully that just helped give your body and your eyes a little reset. I know I needed that. So now we are going to share more about the ways that you can continue engaging with the window between worlds. So I'm Kat Mardo. I'm the training and outreach manager at Windows. I've been with Windows for about 5 years, and my background is actually in photography and in theater. And one of the things that brought me to Windows was realizing that I could bring my love and connection to art and merge that with my desire to be of service. And so I'm very excited to be here with you all today and share a little bit more about our program. Christy.
My name's Christy, and I'm the Director of Training and Outreach here at Windows. And I first got connected to Windows 21 years ago when I was working at a domestic violence shelter and outreach center. And my boss said, "We're going to send you to a training about using art." And I said, "What? We don't have time for all that. Arts and come on, we're busy here. I'm dealing with life and death situations with folks, literally leaving their homes with the clothes on their backs and their children escaping for their lives." And she was like, "Just go." I also did not consider myself to be creative and went through the Windows training and realized, oh, we're actually all artists. We just don't give ourselves permission to create. And it was incredible the connections that I was able to forge with those that I served in a whole new powerful way once I started incorporating art into the work that I do. So that was 21 years ago, and I'm still going strong and grateful to be with all of you today. All of you today. Who's in this space? We want to get a quick reading on who's in this space with us. So we're going to invite you to share either in the chat. You can do an emoji in the chat or some words in the chat, or you can just use the reaction button. If this was your first time participating in a Windows workshop today. Seeing some no's, seeing some, oh, yep, okay, we've got a good mix. Some yeses. Oh, yes. Welcome to all of our new folks. Fabulous. Oh, this is what we like to see, a good mix. Wonderful. Awesome. Yes, Ashley, we are glad to see everybody here. Awesome. All right. And we actually kind of already touched in on this. If you've participated in an art workshop before, please let us know, do a reaction. And what I'll invite is, if this is a workshop that you've participated in with us before, if you'll put in the chat, how many years since your very first Windows workshop? For me, it's been about 24 years since the first time I did a Windows workshop. How about you? Take a look in the chat. Oh, Kathy's in this space. I can attest that it is 35 plus years since Kathy's first workshop because she founded the organization. Wonderful. 9 years, 1 year, last year, 22. Yes, thank you, Susie. Susie, we are grateful to have you in this space. Folks, we are a research informed modality. Susie ran a research project around using the art workshops, and it is just her findings were incredible. Thank you, Susie. 5 years, 2 years. Cami, 20 years. Yes. Robin's got 24 to 25. Carla, been on staff, facilitating for years now. Suzanne since 2018. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. It's just wonderful to have you all in this space. Ooh. And so whether you are brand new to the organization and to doing these art workshops, or you've been with us for a while, I invite you as we spend this time together to really center yourself in the conversation and think about and share in the chat, where do you currently use art, or where could you imagine yourself using art? Maybe it's with staff, maybe folks you serve, maybe for yourself, maybe with your family, your kids, in your community. We have folks that use the Windows program in every setting. And all of you in this space help us do that and it continue to expand. We've got staff and youth at a residential program, all of the above. Yes, Sherry. Ooh, visits, wonderful. Clients and would like to do more. Yes. Ooh, continuing to spread our wings to new places and spaces. Woo! Fire survivors, school settings, church. Yes, we love our faith-based programs as well. Wonderful. Staff, clients, oh, wonderful. We love this diversity. And that's the wonderful diversity that we continue to see growing through the Window Between Worlds program and seeing our community of facilitators growing and thriving. We started out grounded in using art within the domestic violence movement, and we have been spreading our wings and expanding ever since.
Yeah, and I'd love to expand on that. And as Christy mentioned, Windows began with just a small group of people exploring how art could support survivors of domestic violence. And today, our community includes more than 1,500 facilitators. And these facilitators are bringing this work into so many different settings. And they include clinicians, therapists, case managers, educators, advocates, frontline staff, organizational leaders, and so many others. And some of them have extensive backgrounds in art or in mental health, and many of them don't. And I say that to uplift and share that this training and this program is for anyone that wants to integrate the healing arts into the services that they provide. And so that means it can be licensed or unlicensed professionals. Everybody is welcome. And everybody is empowered to bring this approach and this programming into their communities. So as you take a look at these bubbles that you see on the screen right now, I invite you to share your sector or the community you serve in the chat if you haven't already. And maybe a lot of you see your work represented here, or maybe there are some of you that are working in a sector that you don't see, in that you didn't see in that bubble. We welcome you to put that in the chat too. So I know Christy named a lot of the sectors. If there's anything new, I'd love to see if there's anything that wasn't there. But I'm seeing with trafficked survivors. I want to start with prisons, unaccompanied children. Thank you. Yeah, service providers, Florida sexual abuse treatment programs. Yeah, so as Christy said, we love to see how this image continues, that image that you saw of the bubbles, how it continues to evolve, because every year people are bringing Windows into new settings and finding new ways to integrate the healing art workshops. And so maybe you're next. If your sector wasn't one that was represented, we'd love to be able to add it and have that show up in our next bubble. And now I'll hand it over to Christy to share about ways that AWBW creates impact.
Folks that have heard of us think of us often around, oh yes, you're the folks that provide art workshops to support individuals with healing, with growth, with reconnecting to all of the wisdom and all of the light and joy that's within all of us. And that's true. And we do a lot more. We support folks with using art to help definitely with trauma recovery, to support well being, and also to use it for leadership development, whether you're using it to really be able to reach folks in your organization in new ways. We invite folks to incorporate it into staff meetings, like Helena was talking about earlier today, how they do that at A Greater Hope. Also, the art is such a brilliant way to vision. We really see art as a bridge from where we are now to where we want to go. It ties into our name. When you're in an art workshop and it's a safe and supportive environment, it's a window from the world that you're in to the world that you want to move towards, and can make that strategic visioning go on another level when you incorporate healing art. Folks also use our art programming for community building. It is brilliant for community engagement, for creating awareness around these vital topics. And as someone who's done community engagement without art and then with it, woo, it is night and day. I went from the person having that table at the community events that people avoided because I was talking about violence and abuse to the table everybody flocked to because we had an art activity. And it's not just that art activity that they get to participate in that moment, but one of the brilliant things about art is then it's a tangible reminder we can carry forward into our lives to really incorporate that to support our paths forward. So those are the different ways that folks are utilizing the program. And when we do our trainings, that's how folks first come in, is we do an initial training. And what you all experience today is exactly what we do in the trainings, where you get to experience an art workshop for yourself. Number one way to learn is by doing. And then we take you through a whole journey, which Kat's going to share more about.
Thank you, Christy. Yeah, so our 2-day facilitator training has what we call a triple focus, which you can see here in this image. And that first focus is that creation time, right? It's the opportunity to experience the workshop for yourself, firsthand. And we prioritize that because that lived experience, we really believe, becomes the foundation for your future facilitation. And so it creates the foundation of the training, making it an experiential experience, if you will. Our second focus that you see here is adapt. And that's where we build time and space into the training to offer you and invite you the opportunity to start to think about the people that you serve and your settings. What might you like to use from what you're absorbing? What might you adapt or change based on your own population or setting? And what new ideas are coming up from being in the space, right? And then our third is community. We really think of the training essentially as just the very beginning. It's a launch, and it's a launch into an ongoing community where you have access not only to resources and support and continued learning from the AWBW team, but also from what's being shared back around other facilitators that are doing this work. And so the training isn't something that is simply, here are these art activities, off you go to facilitate them. It's really where we offer that opportunity to have that in-depth experience and to reflect, right? And to adapt, and then to bring that and continue to not only grow as a facilitator, but to continue growing in community with others. And I'll hand it back to Christy for more.
And what does that support look like? One of the primary ways that we support is through our facilitator portal. After folks come to the training, they get access to the portal where they can get in there and they'll be able to access, like, for example, the toolkit that you all got access to today. And we have over 600 different art activities. And these are set up with step-by-step instructions that folks can print out, and they can utilize it like a script, take different parts to whatever speaks to them. We also have folks who utilize our templates and do their own thing. That's wonderful. We invite folks to really make it your own. We like to think of it as we all have our own special flavor and spice that we bring, and you get to bring that to your art programming. And the training is all about you getting comfortable with ascertaining, well, what is that spice? What is that flavor that I want to bring to my art workshops? And at the training, folks have these wonderful connecting moments. As Kat said, the number one way that we encourage folks to learn how to facilitate is by participating. So what a better way to learn about, well, what is this like for participants in the training than to hear from a trainee themselves? Here we go.
The training was meaningful, and it pulled so much out of me and had me own who I am and who I need to be with purpose in the community. And this was at a time when I was really coming to my true self of claiming I am a mama bear of a transgender daughter. At first, it was not easy to proclaim publicly because you never know how anybody's going to react to that reality. Until I said, you know what, I can be all of me and I can serve that purpose of making the world a safer place for my daughter. I realized if I don't proclaim it, and it really was this workshop, actually, if I don't proclaim it publicly, then we won't make progress.
I love that video so much, and I love where she kind of stops and says, it really was this workshop. And that's an example of a workshop that is facilitated at the training, and it's really a beautiful testament to what can happen for facilitators just internally as they are participating in the training, right? And so I just want to share a little bit about what are the ways that you can get trained to become part of the AWBW community. And we have two pathways into that facilitator community. And we're also here to support you in figuring out what is going to work best for you, what's going to be the right fit for your circumstances, for your organization, for your population and setting. And so our first training that I'd like to share about is that 2-day signature live training. Our 2-day training, this is where you're going to have that really in-depth and experiential training experience. It's live, it's extremely interactive. There's opportunities for multiple hands-on workshops. There's time to reflect and to adapt and to do so alongside other service providers, which really helps us start building that opportunity for community with your own training cohort. And it's also an opportunity to have direct connection with the training team at that training. So if you're able to attend the 2-day training, that's definitely and absolutely the experience that we most highly recommend. We also know that time and funding can be barriers at times, right? Especially when there's an organization, for example, that wants to train multiple staff members. And so that's why we created our on-demand training. And our on-demand training is an abbreviated online version of our 2-day training. And one of the additional benefits of having a staff member attend the 2-day training is that once there's a 2-day trained facilitator at an organization, then additional team members can access that on-demand training and do so at a significantly discounted partner rate that we offer. And so this is in place to really help support organizations with building that capacity, right? Without requiring that every single staff member attend the 2-day training. So when we look at those two training options, it isn't really an either or. One person or two or three even can go and attend the immersive 2-day training experience, and then additional team members can become certified through the more accessible, whether that be time accessible or cost accessible on-demand pathway. And we have that training as well because our goal is to really help build a team of facilitators rather than just having one person who is carrying the art program alone, but really extending that offer to others to be able to support with that. And so our on-demand option, that's the training that works for someone who, for example, may not be able to carve out 2 consecutive days out of their schedule, right, to attend the 2-day training. It's also a great pathway for organizations that are looking to train really large groups of people who can't carve out those 2 days, and or that large group of people attending the 2-day training also may be cost prohibitive. And one example around organizations that really benefit from this on-demand training are school districts. We have a plethora of school districts that we partner with where they've sent 5 or 6 team members to the 2-day training, and then are able to train up to 50 other staff members through the on-demand at that discounted rate. So just an example of how that capacity can really build and bring the programming to as many people as possible.
Folks will often tell me, oh, we do art. And I'm like, that's amazing. I love that you do art with the folks that you serve. But what's different about Windows? Why AWBW art? We are all about not giving you another thing to do, but giving you accessible, high impact, low cost art activities that you can do anytime, anywhere. Like I love that one of Pat's examples and what Anna had shared was using art, making art on just a piece of paper with some pen or pencil. Incredible. We're all about, not that art has to look a certain way, you have to use these certain fancy supplies. It's all about engaging in the creative process rather than being attached to the final product. And our focus is having these strengths based where the workshops are all very focused on what is that strength within you. I like that when we look at trauma informed, we look at not what happened to you or not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you. And I like to think about what's strong in you. And the workshops really help bring out that strength and bring it out in a way that is completely self-directed. When we're dealing and working with trauma survivors and just folks in society, there's so many areas where we don't have control over what's happening. But when you're in the Windows workshops, it's a window of time for you to decide what works best for you. We facilitate through that trauma and research informed lens, and we have research to back it up, and we go into the trainings around these research studies and the findings and how these trauma treatment models that have been proven to be effective are woven into the fabric of our workshops. And also, last but certainly not least, it's really fun and it's joyful and fun and joy are healing. We can discount that. And we have one-stop shopping for everything you need. We talked about that Facilitator portal, over 600 art workshops, and you join this wonderful community that so many community members are here today, where it's this wonderful space of ongoing learning. We're constantly sharing resources and welcoming you to share back with us. So what does this look like in action? Let's hear from Tiambe, who's one of our long-term facilitators and also part of our training team.
We might be missing the sound.
Oh.
Perhaps.
Oh, can you guys not hear?
This space to talk about.
Oh,
Thank you, Zachary. Can you not hear?
Oh, we heard it.
I heard something come in the back end just now.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't starting. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, nope, that's great. Let me go ahead and share. We're just going to get to cue Tiambe up again. I'm into it. Okay, fabulous. Okay.
About all the ways that Windows has just buoyed me and others. I wanted to speak to this as in working with survivors, specifically a lot of QT BIPOC survivors across the lifespan, but especially with advocates and counselors and case managers that work really the front lines, hotlines, and institute the programs. It's been really important for me to use Windows with staff and interns and hotline workers and advocates to really create both self and community care. So just really taking that window of time to utilize art workshops. We've used it a lot in some of the organizational trauma of transition fatigue. So meaning those times where you've had just successions of different leaders or lots of losses in the organization, and really being able to utilize things like turning over a new leaf to think about, yes, what's changing and how hard and how many ways we're challenged by that, but then how do we envision and co-create a future together? We've also used it in a lot to promote more experiential knowledge and skill sharing rather than power over. So with in creating more collaborative and co-creative organizations together, we can use that to promote that experiential knowledge. How do we learn in workshop together? And one of the ways that we also offered healing, collective care to one another was using shrinky dinks. And we actually made little shrinky dinks and then made one for each of the other folks in the group. And then everyone got a little collection of reminders that we could flip through. We had this collection of little shrinky dinks from each of the other folks that showed us what we meant to them or something that stood out. And those kinds of reminders have been really pivotal. And it's such a long-term and sort of lasting impact that we can carry with us. And that's the beauty of, for me, using it with staff and interns, is to really hear back from folks how being introduced to Windows and being able to co-facilitate with other folks, how they've had an impact, lasting impact on my life, and how what we were able to create together is something they carry forward as well.
Okay, so we have shared a bit more about the Windows program and our training and what you can expect at the training and some experiences from the training. And so now we'd like to offer a little bit of time for you all to ask any questions or talk about what is coming up for you or what matters to you around what you have heard. Maybe you have a little bit more questions around the training or the options for training, or how to use the workshops with a particular population if they are adaptable to that, or maybe you want to think about how you want to bring this to staff, or you see yourself having an organization where there's going to be that desire to get multiple people trained. So we'd love to open it up for you all to ask anything that is coming up for you around anything that you've heard, or anything at all if you want to talk about anything. And if you prefer to put a question in the chat, we welcome that as well, and we'll keep an eye on it.
If you do want to share, feel free to come off mute. We welcome it.
I don't really have a question, but just wanted to share an experience I had with a supervised visit. This particular family that came in, there was a lot of anger, and it was a father and daughter, and just just didn't want to communicate at all. And so I offered the art, and we deviated a little bit from what the actual project was, but we set some ground rules in the very beginning, and to make it safe for both of them, and especially for the child. You don't have to do anything with this. You can just scribble. You can do whatever you want here. If you want to share your feelings on here, that's great. You don't have to. And it was interesting to see all of a sudden, father and daughter, they just got busy on doing their project. There still wasn't a lot of communication at first, but there wasn't any anger either. So it just helped soften that environment. So yeah, it was nice. No.
Thank you, Barbara. Oh, your facilitation. We are so grateful. Incredible. Yes. Oh, it's wonderful, the connections that can happen in a workshop. Oh, and I'm going to thank you. And Barbara, thank you so much for closing us out. That was beautiful. We're going to go ahead and move into just talking about next steps, because we would love to partner with all of you, just as we partner with Barbara and the team at A Greater Hope.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Barbara. So we really hope that your experience today gave you a chance to not only experience one of the workshops, but to also maybe begin to vision and imagine what you could do with these tools, and whether that is supporting young people and families, creating space for staff, well-being, strengthening and team building, engaging with your community, or maybe that's something you want to use for yourself. We'd absolutely love to help you explore what that could look like. And so we're going to put some training information and also ways for you to connect with us into the chat. And we welcome you to please reach out. We're happy to connect and share about any more information that you'd like, whether that's around the 2-day training, the on-demand training, or the program. And we'd love to see some of you in a future training, and hopefully in in one of those photos that gets shared, like the one that you see here, as part of this growing community of facilitators. Our upcoming training is in November, and we would love to see you there. So please reach out to us if we can support you with anything at all in getting to a training with us. So thank you so much again for your time and your participation today. And we hope this is a see you later and not a goodbye. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to come off of mute and say goodbye. I'm going to stop sharing